Welcome back to the channel, guys. In this video, I am not entirely sure what we're going to cover. We're going to kind of fix some things and clean things up. We might work on the Tesla and correct a couple things there. First thing I'm going to do is tackle the oil temp gauge. I mentioned it in the last video, but then didn't actually get around to doing it. So we're going to get that gauge installed so we can start monitoring oil temperatures. Let's get to it. Got that gauge mounted up in there. Now I need to wire it in. This is the wires from the temp sensor itself, and then these wires got to get wired into power and ground and illumination so that that gauge lights up at night when the headlights are on. All right, it's in there. I turned it on real quick and the gauge moves. I haven't warmed it up to temp just to make sure everything's working right, but turned the headlights on and made sure it illuminates properly, so we should have a functional temp gauge.
Please subscribe and join me in Kart.
All right, on the Tesla Model 3, when I purchased it, this motor, it's an actuator for lifting the trunk, was broken. It's broken off right here and the head is still right there. So we're gonna get this off, and I picked a replacement up off of eBay. So got to clip that off, and it looks like we've got to come through here and pull a wire harness out. So we will get that off. If you've never pulled one of these off, it's pretty simple. You just take a flathead screwdriver and you can shove it in here. Can't do it with two hands, but this little clip here comes off and then this pops right off. Got that in. That didn't take long. And the connector for it is right up underneath here, so you don't need to pull any interior panels off. You can just kind of reach with your fingers in there to get that on. And now we have a power trunk again. Next, we're going to go after wind noise. It is worst on the driver front door. The other doors aren't so bad, but there's definitely wind noise coming through, which is a common problem on these Model 3s. So I've read kind of two different ways to tackle this. I'm going to try both. Might as well do them at the same time. One is a sealing kit. It adds rubber to the bottom of the door. So there's already a weather strip here around the door, but it basically kind of seals up the gap between the two doors to reduce wind noise. And then the other suggestion that I've read online is some heavy-duty silicone, and just spray that on the existing weather stripping and wipe it down. So we're going to go ahead and do both in hopes that they both do a little something. I'll throw a link in the description to this on Amazon. I think it was 40 or 50 bucks. Comes with weather stripping for all the doors and the trunk. I don't know why you would need the trunk so much. I doubt there's a lot of wind noise coming from there, but it also comes with a bag full of these alcohol wipes. They call it adhesion promoter. So you wipe down the bottom edge of the door and then up the door, and then you peel off the double-sided tape that's already on the weather stripping, and you apply it. Pretty simple. There it is installed, and when the door's closed you really don't see it. It is kind of there if you look real close, but hopefully it seals up that gap and reduces the wind noise. I didn't take a before, and this really isn't an after video, but I have this thing out on the highway and the wind noise is significantly reduced. I don't have a decibel meter, but it's definitely much better. Would recommend really both of those things, because I don't know which one ultimately solved the problem, but the silicone and the extra weather stripping, there's a lot less noise coming from my left side near the window. Back inside on this thing, and in a previous episode you saw me repaint these door bars. I've been sitting on this for a while. It is just some carbon fiber cladding. So I'm going to take some double-sided tape. This is a 48 section. I'm going to just cut it in half and then put it on each of the door bars to protect them from dings from the seat belts. All right. Got those two protectors on there. Hopefully that keeps the door dings down to a minimum. I'll probably still get some, but should keep the door dings down at least. Or if they're not actually door dings, they're dings from the seat belts. Okay, next we are going to replace this ignition switch. This is a cheap, ooh, I think it just sparked there. This is a cheap ignition switch off of Amazon. I think it was $10 or something like that. And twice now it has shorted in a way that has caused my battery to die. It's happened twice over the last 6 months or so. There's something in it that occasionally causes it to short out. So I picked up a better one from Painless. It is waterproof. This one is not that I drive this in the wet, but it should be much more resistant to vibration. That's the price difference. I think this was like $40 or something, but should be well worth it. So we need to swap this out so that I don't have an issue coming, getting in the car after a car show and finding that I need to jump it. That's in. This feels a lot more positive and clicky. I had the shut off in the back off, so nothing's turning on. But this one, I don't know if you'll be able to pick it up on camera. It has a lot of play back here, and I'm pretty sure that's what was shorting it inside. Because when the battery would die, I would kind of play with this, and then I could get it to crank sometimes. So there was definitely an issue in this, so we should be good now, and I should be able to keep my battery not from dying when I'm away from the car for a little bit. The next thing I'm going to tackle are some new studs, and I'm going to do a couple things all at the same time. I've got these wheel plate or wheel spacer adapters. They bolt to the OEM studs here, and then these studs come off of the adapter. So we're going to change up how this works. Couple problems. One, when I'm changing between the tire that I normally run on the street to the slicks, I don't run the spacers on the slicks because I don't really need to. And that's a pain at the track because particularly switching back to it, back to the street tires. In order to bolt on those spacers, you have to have someone inside pressing on the brakes because there's no way to really keep this from rotating. The emergency brakes on the back hold it from rotating, and I can attach them on the back, but on the front, this is obviously no e-brake. It just spins, so you've got to have a second person. That's annoying. So And then the other issue is when I pull these spacers off, you can see the tip of the OEM, if it'll focus. Focus. The tip on this is not threaded, meaning that when I go to the slicks, because of the thickness on these wheels here where it seats into the studs, I'm only getting 3 or 4 threads of engagement on the nut, and I don't like that. So we're going to go to a much longer stud, and we're going to convert this into a bolt through style spacer instead of an adapter style spacer. That's what we're going to get into. By the way, these spacers are hub centric, so I can go through to a bolt through style spacer and not be concerned too much about this causing a balance issue since they are hub centric spacers. Here's a look at the size difference. I got that first stud knocked out. These are 3 1/4 inch studs compared to the OEM studs. So probably 1.5 inches longer, maybe even more like 1 3/4 inches when you look at just the threaded portion. So should be a lot more engagement on the threads, and these are ARP studs, so should be good quality as well. So I've had these spacers for a while, but before I did this or started doing this, I looked for just a 20 millimeter spacer that didn't have the studs in it. I think they call these adapters, though technically it's not adapting anything because it is the 5x4.75 that's on the Corvettes, both here and here. So it's the same spacing. It's not adapting anything. But I still couldn't find a 20 millimeter thick spacer with no studs. So this body is billet aluminum, and these studs are just pressed in just like the studs on your hub. So I've got it over here in my press, and I'm just going to press these studs out, and then these holes should be the holes I use for, actually I could probably use either set, but I'm going to use these holes for the spacers. All right, got everything buttoned up. Lots of nice thread engagement on there. So I am happy. Should have even more than that with the race wheels on. That'll be good. Okay, the last thing I think I want to tackle in this video is these mirrors. On the other side, one of these tabs is actually broken. It's still attached, but it's broken, and this also is far too easy to rotate, and I really can't get this much tighter the way this is set up. And right around 120-ish miles an hour, like on the drag strip, the wind is enough force that it starts to push this backwards. And given that I can get to about 150 on the straight on the road course, and I need my mirrors on the road course, I want to come up with a solution. So I'm going to pull this off. I think what I'm going to do is actually, instead of these molded plastic tabs in here, the lighting's not great, I'm going to chop this off and then put a metal plate back in here, and then make 2 little metal tabs, and be able to fix this much tighter, because I can't go too terribly tight with this bolt, otherwise it will break the plastic like I broke on the other side. Now that I got that off, you can kind of see they've got these ball detents that are meant to go in this little groove, if it'll focus. And then on the top and bottom, there's the kind of a plastic washer. And so because you've got plastic on plastic, they kind of made it so that it would move nicely, and then the balls would kind of hold it in one spot, but it's not enough to hold it in place at 120 mile an hour. So I think what I'm going to do is cut these off. Like I said already, I'm going to remove these plastic washers. I think they'll just pull out of here. Yep, they just did. so that it's kind of some metal tabs on the metal surface here, and maybe even throw a star washer in there and then tighten it down where I want it. And if I want to move it, I'll have to loosen the bolt, but that's fine. That bracket bent up and drilled out, and this will sit right around here. I'm going to put a plate on the inside and then just sandwich that plastic between these two pieces of aluminum. This is aluminum as well, so I won't get any corrosion here in the connection point, so that'll be good. So we'll get the flat piece. I've already got the flat piece cut it out, but we'll get a couple holes drilled and some bolts through the mirror housing and should be able to mount it up. Got that all back together. Didn't manage to crack that mirror in doing this, so I'll have to get that replaced. But that's for another time. But it is much more solid than it was before, so that'll be a good thing when I'm out there racing. Okay, we got a number of things done in this video. I think that's probably enough to fill up a video. I'm really satisfied with some of the just creature comfort things that we're getting done and just kind of buttoning some things up. There are still some major projects in the future, probably saving those for next winter, that we'll get to. Things like a serious front splitter that I thought maybe I'd get to last winter, but it's still on the to-do list. There's also some small stuff that's still out there. One-way valve for the fuel system, for example. Maybe we'll get that done soon before the end of the year. But that's going to do it for this one. So thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want. And I'll see you on the next one.